Hello, welcome to the Wharton session at the GMAT Club MBA essay workshop. So my name is Kirsty and I'll be your host today, but it's my pleasure to introduce Liza Wheel from Gatehouse Admissions. In this session, she'll walk you through the MBA essays for Wharton kind of step by step. I know there's a new essay that she'll be covering, which is great for you to be here today. You'll get some practical insights on how to prepare your own essays. So there will be some time for Q&A at the end. Please submit your questions in the Q&A tab and then feel free to upvote the ones that you're most interested in. But with that, let's get started. Go ahead, Liza. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thanks so much, Kirsty. Hi, everybody. I am really excited to be here. I'm going to take a moment to introduce myself and what we'll be covering today. But just to level set with everybody, and I do encourage you to use the Q&A to throw some questions as you have them. I will keep an eye on them, but really look to answer them at the very end of the presentation. But please use it and just give a shout also if there's any issue or anything, just because I'm usually on multiple screens when I'm doing this. I'm only on one. But anyway, why are you here? You are here so that you have the best shot of getting into Wharton. That's it, right? And you're going to be working on those essays and your entire application, which is due in less than 4 weeks at this point. So right around the corner. So this is why you're here. Why are you listening to me? Well, because I'm well poised to help. My name is Liza Wheel, as Kirsty said, and I'm very proud to say that I'm one of the most highly rated consultants on GMAT Club. I am just one positive review short of 150 reviews up there, so you can learn all about me and my style up there. I have been coaching MBA applicants for over 2 decades. I am a Sloan MBA, and I'm also a former management consulting. I was at Bain. I founded Gatehouse. It's an admissions consulting firm. I founded it in 2020, and our consultants are all from Wharton, Harvard, or Stanford GSB. I'm a bit of the anomaly being MIT Sloan, but I'm okay with that. I say this not so much that because we necessarily have the inside track at any of these schools. We don't. But what it does say about us is that we are ridiculously ambitious, just like all of you who are setting your eyes and your sights on Wharton. But we're also empathetic, strategic, and analytical. So that makes us really supreme and dedicated coaches to our clients. And lastly, why are we poised to help? Because based on experience, we've done really well with Wharton. I took a look at our stats right before jumping onto this presentation. Over 80% of our Wharton applicants secure an interview, and over 70% of our Wharton applicants are actually admitted into the program. So all of this to say, you're at the right place. I can definitely give you some good guidance on how to craft those Wharton essays. But Wharton threw a little bit of a curveball this past year. It's really about I'd say an 80% new application. And though I said we're all analytical, I wouldn't test me on that math. That was just a rough estimate. But they they got rid of one question and swapped in 2 smaller questions and then shortened its second question. So what I can't do in today's session is use past examples, especially for that new question, but I'm going to give you some examples to illustrate the guidance that we have, and then I'll showcase some examples for that second essay, some before and afters. So I want to just take a moment to reflect on these new questions. So essay 1, it's really like 2 short form responses. The first one is what is your immediate post-MBA professional goal? You have 50 words for that. And the second, you have 150 words to explore a little bit more broadly what you'll be doing in the first 3 to 5 years after completing your Wharton MBA and how that experience will help you towards your long-term professional goals. And you, as I said, you have 150 words. And the second essay, this is the same as the question that they've had for several years now, but it is shorter. Taking into consideration your background, how will you add meaningful value to the Wharton community? So these are the questions, and I want to just highlight before we jump into strategy, I want to highlight this. You basically have 40% fewer words this year to make your case. Um, that's like that is a pretty drastic cut. So it just means more than ever, every single word counts and your strategy is imperative. So you might look at these shorter essays and think, oh, fewer words, easier to crank this out. And that's true to a certain degree. But if you go in blindly and just think, oh, shorter words, I have to do less work, you're not going to invest time in thinking through the strategy that you need to craft good application essays for these shorter prompts. So before we dive into these specific Wharton prompts, I want to give you some coaching on how to take a step back and what you need to do. And it's sort of a tried and true career statement equation logic that I use. And this works for a lot of schools, and I will stress that. This equation will work for any school, or actually it's not will work. You need to build this equation for any school that has a career statement of where you headed and why school X for in order to get your MBA. But even though, I'm going to jump back for a second, even though nowhere in here, nowhere in that first essay question do they say, and why Wharton? Or do they say, where have you been? You still need to develop this equation in your mind. Um, so really what you are trying to build out is your vision for the future. And actually that's all the way to the right-hand side of the slide. Where are you headed? And this should be what your short and long-term goals are. And I'm moving some text boxes around so I can see this, or Zoom boxes around, how they relate to one another, why they inspire you, and the impact that you want to have. That's your vision for the future. That knowing this is essential to responding to Wharton's prompts, and to really, as you reflect, be sure that you can articulate all those different sub questions as well. But you also need to think about, okay, how does that relate to where I've been? And where does the MBA fit in? So I encourage you to spend some time working on the rest of the equation. A, where have you been? This is really the accomplishments and experiences that have shaped your goals and that have given you a subset of the skills and perspective that you need to achieve these goals, right? This is like, okay, here are my goals. How does it all relate to where I've been? And then really the missing part, the why you're going to business school, this is what are you going to take advantage of at the given school, in this case, Wharton, to reach your goals. This B, business school, is sort of the connector between where you've been and where you want to go. And note again, Wharton isn't asking why Wharton in that first essay question. They're not saying, well, where are you headed? How does it relate to where you've been, and why Wharton? But still answering this question, even what about Wharton you want to take advantage of, that will help you respond and craft an answer to Wharton's second essay question in part. So before you jump in and just start banging out your goals, really encourage you to make sure you have a super solid career statement equation first. And as you evaluate your career statement, make sure that it satisfies these criteria. Is it relatively ambitious? You're applying to one of the best business schools in the world. It makes sense that you are going to be aiming high, but not too high, right? You're not just kind of going to keep doing what you're doing status quo, nor are you going to business school to perhaps assume a CEO role of a Fortune 500 immediately upon graduation. That's ambitious, but it's not really realistic. So relatively ambitious, that should be your goal. Also, is it logical, right? This is where that equation makes sense. Does it make sense? Is it a logical flow from where you've been? Do the short-term and long-term goals relate to one another in a logical way? That's where you need to make sure it's logical. Is it thoughtful? This is where it's really important to think about the kind of impact that you want to have, the problems that you want to solve, the perspective that you want to bring. The schools, Wharton gives you no point for what your goals are. What they do give you points are is for all of these things. If it's ambitious, logical, thoughtful, if they believe these goals are internalized by you and you really have thought about them, why they're meaningful to you and the impact that you want to have. And then also, is your goal, is it feasible? So, this requires keeping in mind Wharton's resources, their career resources, their clubs. Is it feasible that you can secure the job, the post Wharton job that you want? And if it's not, then how can you make it feasible, whether it's your own networking or devising your own clubs? But these, satisfying these four criteria is really essential as you build your goal statement. So I encourage you to write this down and make sure that you are in your goal statement, building out your equation, and that once you're evaluating your equation, does it satisfy these four criteria? Once you've done that, that is when you can actually start working on your essays. So I want to start with some examples. Now, as I said, this is a brand new essay prompt. So I was not able to go back to all of the hundreds of people that we've coached through the years on their Wharton application and pull an example because there are none. But even at this part, as I said, at this point in the admission cycle, as I said, with about 3 weeks ahead of the deadlines, you better believe we're reading a lot of these. So I wanted to just pull an example of a not good, short response and a good one. And here's one. And again, Wharton is asking you for your immediate post MBA goal. You have 50 words. In this response, I hope to return to private equity investing as a vice president, ideally at my current firm, it's called Privco, or at a similar middle market firm. Now, as you review this, I want you to ask yourself, is it answering the question? Yeah, it is, right? It is certainly answering the question. It addresses the goal, and did that in 22 words. So personally, I would say this is not nearly strong enough. And you'll hear me say this a lot, especially when I'm talking about these goal statements. But this is a very bland statement. There's nothing memorable here. And I don't mean it's lacking buzzwords. Do not take that away from what I'm saying. But it is nothing here that we can see or really internalize about the applicant in this response. I'm just going to see, okay, if I'm missing any chats. Okay, cool. All right, so this is and you can even use the criteria, right? Is it relatively ambitious? Sure, this person is going to have a step up. In fact, when you return to private equity as a VP, often you need that MBA. So yep, it's relatively ambitious. Is it logical? I mean, we think so, right? This person is returning to private equity, so it makes sense that they want to be there. Is it feasible? Again, sure, this person, they're returning to private equity, they must have the skills, so it's feasible. But you can see that big red X against, is it thoughtful? It's just not thoughtful, right? It's kind of bland. It's hard to really get. And it's not that it's hard to get. It's hard to see how this person's career statement is really going to stay in the minds of the admissions committee. So I want to show you another example that illustrates a better crafted response to this. And keep in mind, do not try to mimic what I'm going to show you. It's just I want to show you why it's stronger. And that's what I want you to keep in mind. So here we go. I hope to advance in private equity at the VP level, focusing on US-based infrastructure and public-private partnerships at a firm like Carlyle or Veritas. With a current influx of US investment, companies will need operationally oriented investors to partner with and help turn those dollars into sustainable growth. Okay, is it ambitious? Yup. Is it logical? Still, again, this person's been in private equity. They're going to continue on. Sure, it's logical. Is it feasible? Yeah, it feels like it because they have the skills. Is it thoughtful? Aha. Now we're starting to see a little bit more specifics and again, not buzzwords, but really I can start to see this person's goal. Infrastructure, public and private partnerships, specific firm names. And then a little bit of what's going on, and this implication that this person wants to be an operationally oriented investor. This version is also 48 words. I'm a big proponent on not sticking fluff into your responses, but packing your responses with a punch. If you have more details to give, if you have more room, you can do it. So can, you can see what they're doing here. And Wharton even gives this guidance. They want you thinking about titles, functions, industries, geographies, problems that you're solving. So you can take a lot more advantage of that space to be more specific. And Wharton knows that you might not know what you want to do coming out of business school. And what I say to you is come up with based on the information you have now, what do you want to do? Another way I've seen this response be crafted is to actually mention what you want to do for your internship. So if you are looking for a bold pivot, perhaps you're in software design and you want to actually get into marketing, okay? You could even, instead of this sort of second sentence here, you could swap that in with what you want to do for your internship, how you want to make the most of that, or how you want to network into getting into this role. Use the 50 words to help show them you've been very thoughtful about your goal, how you're going to achieve it, and what you're going to do there, okay? So this is an example of an effective part one response. Now, let's go ahead and look at that second part. This is the one that they ask you to share your goals in 3 to 5 years and then how those flow into your longer term. And I'm going to move all my little Zoom boxes and try to read this. So just because I want you to hear it in my voice. In 3 to 5 years, I'll step into a principal role at the PE firm, taking on more business development and sourcing efforts within the infrastructure and public-private partnerships. This will give me more reps in front of the investment committee, improving my investor sense. I also envision working closely with our management teams, helping them with add-on M&A and incorporating AI to build efficiencies. Lastly, I'll guide the junior investors to develop robust and sound analyses. This is what I would say to this client, who is technically me, as I wrote this example earlier. I would have corrected that error. And hold on just a second. I am making the boxes too big. This will facilitate my dream of launching a fund within the infrastructure space. I aspire to influence investments directly via the investment company and be fully responsible for the outcome of those investments. Doing so, I'll help the U.S. continue to build out improved infrastructure, support job growth, and upgrade its worn out roads, rails, bridges, city plumbing, highways, air traffic control systems, and all the other core elements that enable this country to operate. Okay, put on your thinking caps. You already know that I am going to set up this essay session with a not so great essay statement. So I want you to look at this. There's a lot of good stuff in here, right? The prompt says, what will you be doing in 3 to 5 years? And how will that facilitate your longer term goal? We know what this person's going to be doing, right? They're going to be approaching the investment committee. They're going to be managing associates. They're going to be working in infrastructure and public-private partnerships. So pretty effective, right? Well, so now I challenge you, what is it lacking? Why is it my example of okay, but not great? Okay, but it's not hitting the mark. Why isn't it? So I see one person put in the chat, why Wharton? Actually, I would say it doesn't require, Wharton does not ask why Wharton. That's a good guess, and there might be elements that you could bring in. But in general, I would say it's not that it's lacking why Wharton. Not relatively ambitious. So what? The equation, context is perhaps missing. That's it, you guys. I actually think this is ambitious enough, but it's lacking anything. Like, what do we really know about this person, right? What do we know? So when they're reading through so many people that want to get a job in private equity, what do we really know about this applicant? We don't really know much. We don't understand really. We know a little bit about the impact they want. But then there's like a lot of buzzy kind of private equity type language here that shows that you know the job, but doesn't really give Wharton anything to remember you by. Okay, so I want to show you a different version. And remember, as I said last time, there are so many different ways to take this. So this is just one example, but that you will see will give Wharton a little bit more thought in this response. So again, where does it fall down? To me, where it falls down is it's just not thoughtful. It's not showing enough about the applicant. It's not showing perhaps why the space inspires them, what relevant skills they have, why do they want to do this. It's relatively ambitious. They want to be a principal. That's a coveted role, an important role in a private equity firm. They want to launch their own fund. Great. It's logical. It makes sense. And it's definitely feasible. But, and this is where most of these essays will fall down, it's not really that thoughtful. And when I mean thoughtful, we're not learning enough about the applicant and it's not memorable. So I'm going to show you a different version. And keep in mind, as with all of the business school application essays, they'll appeal more to some people than others, but nevertheless, this will show a more effective use of those 150 words. And by the way, I'm pretty sure this was exactly 150 words, and it was lacking. It had a slight typo, so this is probably 151 words. So it's ridiculously tight. You don't have a lot of room. You've got to be ruthless with every single word. If you're describing generic things, it's just not going to stick in the mind of the admissions reader. So I'm going to show you a different version, and then I want you to think about what worked, and you can still not like things, but what worked better. Oh, wait, I forgot. To make it more thoughtful, go back to your equation. Where have you been? And where are you headed? And think about those aspects when showing the school how much you thought about your goals. So that's why from the beginning, this equation is so important. You cannot succeed unless you have really built out this equation. And one of you mentioned, why Wharton? I personally haven't seen a version that addresses why Wharton, and that wouldn't be my guidance, but I bet there's an effective way you can do it because it's going to show that you're thoughtful. Again, my guidance would be avoid it, but this is all judgment. This is all, we're all kind of learning as we're doing. So if there's a way that you could bring in why Wharton very specifically as it helps us better understand your goals, it could be a way to do it. But my version doesn't. So let's take a peek. Our airports are running out of runways, our fast trains are slow, and our ports are enormously manual. But upgrade projects take so long. For the past 2 years, I've been working on the new JFK terminal. There was another associate there before me and another one before him. We are close to a decade in, and though I've helped make significant progress, again, these clients with these typos, that's my way of saying that's Liza. And though I've helped make significant progress, forecasting foot traffic, partnering with 18 airlines to ensure a smooth flow, and negotiating with lawyers, it's still not done. As an investor, I'll build more efficient infrastructure projects and public-private partnerships by leveraging best practices in operations and AI. I'll guide teams through implementation in portfolio companies and assess new investment opportunities that can benefit from such innovation. One day, I hope to launch my own fund based on these learnings with the goal of expediting infrastructure projects and making them a reality instead of a drawn-out dream. So if you think about the difference, what do you see? I see some chats. Does thoughtful mean what? Does thoughtful mean what personal and meaningful long-term growth, ambition, impact means to you? It's a great question. That's the judgment. There's no right or wrong answer. This applicant chose to highlight some very pressing problems, and then also show some relevant experience, right? This person has been working on the JFK terminal for years, and it's just taking so long, right? So this person, how you choose to do this, if this were a simple rubric, if this were simple to fill out that career equation, I wouldn't be here today. But there is a lot of thought and judgment to say, well, what do I need to bring in to showcase that it's more thoughtful, to showcase what I want to? There's no right or wrong answer. So here, this person decided to illustrate the problems that they hope to solve, a little bit of their direct exposure to it, how long these projects are taking, and then be really clear about what they hope to achieve in their career to close that gap. How you choose to do this, there are infinite ways. Instead, this person could have chosen, perhaps this person is pivoting from a different kind of private equity, and perhaps this person could showcase some of the skills that this person has, but then will leverage the short-term goals in the 3 to 5 year time frame to really build out a new industry set. What you do here is all up to you. But here at least, there's some stuff I can remember about this person. Oh gosh, that person was working on like the JFK terminal, which sounds really, really long. It's been going on forever. Really into infrastructure. And it's not that different than this one, right? But it's definitely, this is describing a role, right? This is describing a job. And then this one, we just get a little bit more sense of the person behind it who is writing it. And that is your challenge as an applicant. You need to show, you need to show that you're thoughtful about where you're going, how it relates to where you've been, and bring some of that out. But what if we want to make a career pivot to a different industry and different function? How do we convey that? There's no one right or wrong answer. Think about the transferable skills that you have accrued. Think about those moments of inspiration that have told you this is the right future path. Think about what skills that you need to get in those early years to reinforce your own skill set and your expertise in the domain. So there's so many different ways, but I will tell you, if you write a sterile job description, you'll fail because the school just won't get to know you well enough. And even this, which the coach in me wants to keep at this and probably do 4, 5, 6 more revs on this before I'm ready to say, yeah, it's a great statement. Like, I think, you could probably make the point in the first paragraph even tighter, get there faster, maybe showcase another accomplishment. There's different ways you can do this, but even already, this feels a little bit more personal. We can see a person, not just a job description. Okay, I want to move on to the next one. And this one's harder, and I'm only going to show you one quick example, not a full essay. What I call with the second essay question, this is all about the meaningful contribution that you'll make at Wharton. Um, uh, That's a great question, Sonia. I'll come back to that. I want to come back to it. How does the first person only narrates a story? How does it tell anything about the person? It's a great question. I would argue that already now you can start to remember this person's goals versus their resume. You can start to be like, yeah, that's the JFK person, right? Gosh, it sounds like it's total bear. Can you imagine trying to forecast foot traffic or ensure smooth flow with 18 airlines? Some of those specifics help us start to see the world that this person's in, that, as I read it, I'm imagining an airport, right? And so suddenly you're in the mind of the writer. That connects you, or you as a writer suddenly have established a bridge and a connection with the reader. So it's a really good question, Sonia. This is more personal. You are learning more about the applicant. All right, I'm going to keep going. Keep your question coming. We'll take them at the end. And this should feel hard. If it were easy, again, you wouldn't be spending months on your application essays. But for the meaningful contribution to Wharton, I always say, I call this sort of like the Goldilocks essay. I see two major issues with drafts of this essay. One is it's all about Wharton and nothing about the applicant, or it's the opposite. It's all about the applicant and nothing about Wharton. So Goldilocks, you balance it. You want to show that you've been thoughtful about the Wharton community, but you're also being clear what you bring to the community and what your legacy is going to be on campus. So start by reflecting on what you need to take advantage of to reach your goal. That's important because it's very likely some of the things you will get involved in at Wharton will help you achieve your goals, and that's okay. But when you're thinking about that, you also want to think, well, what will you contribute to these different academic or career-oriented initiatives where you can make them bigger, better, better? And how exactly will you do that? And also, I want you to reflect on what you've already done, ways that you've gotten involved in the community, accomplishments that you're particularly proud of, things that have defined you. And then on both of those, build out what this you will contribute at Wharton. So so in other words, really think about like, okay, what do I bring? Or who am I? What do I bring? What are my wants? Okay, how could this manifest itself on the Wharton community and really add value to the community itself? Um, okay, so let's keep going. I'm going to show an example, and this question has, I want to make a point here. This question has been around for years, but up until this year, you had 400 words. They've shaved off 50 words. They just, in my mind, they just want you to make the point, get faster, don't include fluff. Any word that I can't see or better get to know you, or that you're proving something about Wharton, should go. Okay, so here goes. I am going to just pause for a minute. I'm going to read it and let you read it, and then we'll show another example. Read quickly. You'll get the gist pretty quickly. Okay, that's enough. That's enough time, hopefully. So here the question is basically the response is, I don't know, boring in my mind. It takes a lot for the reader to understand what this person is going to bring to Wharton, right? Kind of like there's just a lot of fluffy words that in the world of only 350 words, and you want to show multiple ways you contribute, this is way too long and way too, there's just, yet, like what I often say is that the admissions reader are reading through so many essays, you just need to make your point. That doesn't mean you still need to get vivid, specific, but cut out words that are just not really letting the reader come into your world and see your world. I found remarkable friendship and mentorship in the intersection of professional pursuits and cultural background. I can't see any of that as the reader. There's nothing that I can really say, oh yeah, that's the person. Oh, that's the person who saw remarkable friendship and mentorship at the intersection of his career and personal pursuits. No. So when you get through this, you see that this person had a meaningful experience at college with the Brazilian Society and wants to create something similar at Wharton. I'm going to show you a version 2 of this. I would not say that this is done at all. And this is actually based on a client of ours from several years ago who did get into Wharton. He actually chose another school, but he got in. But I would not say the next one is done. But you'll see a little bit, certainly, why it's a lot tighter, right? It's the same topic. You got a much bigger font. So that means you're using far fewer words to do it. As I've heard from Wharton alumni, there are incredible Brazilian American students on campus. So I plan to initiate a Brazilian club to serve as a platform to promote the culture and region. Yale's Brazil Society was incredibly important to me. Though I grew up outside of Indianapolis, I spent every summer in Rio and the wetlands of Mato Grosso, sharpening my Portuguese skills and experiencing the Brazilian way of life. I even trained there with Brazil's junior national tennis team. As the first Souza to attend college, I sought out other first-generation Brazilian American students, upperclassmen who guided me in charting my academic path. As eventual president, I established a formal network of alumni to help future undergraduates. I hope to do similarly at Wharton. Moreover, I'd like to organize a trek through the leadership venture programs that guides students through Mato Grosso, giving us a chance to experience the wonder of the wetlands. As I said, This is maybe a V3. I say you need a few more revisions to get even tighter. But this is better, right? And I'll showcase what it's doing and where it still needs to get better. Where it's getting, so what it's doing is it's showing what this person wants to do. They want to initiate a Brazilian club. And remember, I created this on the fly. This person wasn't from Brazil, but a different area. So there might be a Brazil club at Wharton. I did not take the time to figure out. You, my friend, should take the time to figure it out. Maybe there already is one and you want to make it better. But if you want to initiate it, make sure it's new. I didn't take that time because I wanted to use this as illustration. But we know what this person wants to do. They want to create a Brazil club to promote the culture and region. They want to lead a leadership venture. They want to build sort of pride in the Brazilian American culture. Then what they do, this is the Goldilocks feature, right? They explain what they did that was similar at college, why this space is so meaningful. We understand that this person is Brazilian, that this person was first in his family to go to college, and probably what we can infer felt lost and looked at upperclassmen with similar background to help that person succeed and wants to sort of build that same community at Wharton. So what I would do in later revs is encourage this client to really streamline the middle even more. We get the sense, but this is probably weighted too much towards the applicant and not quite enough to Wharton. I would suspect that given the short word count, they're going to have to deal with some other topics. So they probably can't add more Wharton to this answer, but they've got to strip out a little bit about that, about them and their background without, as I say, getting rid of any of the beauty. So this essay is very much a seesaw. You want to be explicit about what you will contribute, how you will advance Wharton, and what your legacy there will be. But you have to contextualize that based on your experiences, your goals, your values. We don't know any of that unless you tell us. But if you only tell us, then we don't know if you've really thought about Wharton. So therein lies the balance. All right, I am going to flip open to questions for a few minutes. I hope this was helpful. Please do not take these essays as if I do this, I will get in. Never works that way. Again, if there were one way to do this, I don't even think the essays would exist. Your story is your story. You've got to figure out how to tell it in a way that is going to stand out, resonate, compel Wharton to give you a spot. But I hope that across both of these essays, you saw the importance of you having a very solid career statement equation, really balancing out the specifics about you, and in this case, what you want to do at Wharton. And always be kind of thinking about the specific context that you need to give the school so that they know you as an applicant and that you're not just describing a club or a career goal, because then they won't see you at all. Okay, let's us open. All right, so I'm going to open up to Q&A. If you want more guidance, definitely visit gatehouseadmissions.com, our resources. I wrote a new Wharton essay analysis that's posted. The video should be up soon, but it's going to cover a lot of what we spoke to today. In fact, this video would probably be better than the little 7-minute one I did. But anyway, you can check out the written essay analysis, follow us on YouTube, request a free consultation, engage with us on your essays. In other words, if this is a taste, there's a lot more. It's a lot of work that you're embarking on. Give yourself that recognition, like that it's not a small feat. So, give it its proper due. Okay, with that, I am going to go ahead and and I appreciate this poll. So we've got a question here that's just popping up. I don't know when this was asked, but I love it. When are you applying to Wharton? It looks like lots of you applying round 1. So this is super timely, and some of you are applying round 2. All right, I'm going to go ahead and look at questions. Let's see, and I'm going to take them kind of in the offer. This question was, Mohammed, can we follow these tips and infos for the MOLIS application? That's the deferred MBA. Absolutely. There's no reason not to. You just don't necessarily have the same professional experience or as many years, but all the guidance here really still works for you. Um, all right, this is Saruchi. My question is for someone not from, and remember the questions are in the Q&A, not from a quant heavy background. How can we still show in the essays or elsewhere Wharton can be a good fit for someone wanting to pursue pursue a career in marketing and media tech? So there's a few things here. Wharton does care about your quantitative and critical reasoning skills. So if you don't have them, you need to showcase the ones you do have, or you need to be realistic about that. If you don't have any quant skills, you're going to be facing an uphill battle. So what that means is you maybe need to invest more on the quant side of your test. Take a college course in in calc, accounting, finance. Broaden your school list. If you have such experiences, but they're not well showcased, you could rely on your recommender. Could make sure that they come out in your resume. Um, you could possibly mention them in your essays, but it's all going to depend. But you could also mention in your optional essay, your recommendation, your resume. You could be really strategic there. But if you don't have them, you need to build them or go for it, but also extend your school list would be my quick answer there. Especially since Wharton doesn't ask the why Wharton, you're not going to be able to spend a lot of words on why Wharton's a good fit for you. You're going to have to let them decide on whether or not you have the skills. So if you don't have them, really make sure you're showcasing what you do have and think about either building them or building out your school list. Any specific tips for the dual degree candidate? I think if you were applying to like Harvard MPP and a Wharton MBA, I think the big thing there is kind of presenting a vision that leverages them both. But because you're applying to Wharton, make it heavier on why you need the MBA. So, in that goal, and again, the school doesn't ask this. So you're going to have to be creative, but on that sort of longer term goal statement, part 2, you could show how the two work together, the 2 degrees, but how the MBA really bolsters your ability to create change and impact. Okay, so that's on dual degrees. The next question. The next question, this person, Priya, investment management professional from Mumbai, exploring a pivot into private equity with a strong interest in AI's role in business transformation. How should applicants with a technical finance background and interest in emerging tech frame our leadership potential so it feels distinctive and relevant to values of the school? Priya, that's a great question. The schools have no predefined definition of what leadership should be. So I would start with, okay, when have you been a leader? When have you been a thought leader? When have you convinced others to follow? When have you done that in the workplace? How have you challenged preconceived ideas? How have you gained followership? Could be ways that you have initiated change, partnered with outside vendors, whatever it might be. So I encourage all of you, and where it means for this application, absolutely you need that stuff on your resume. You need your recommender to highlight it. And even in the essays, if you think about that longer essay or potentially the essay too, you might have some room in both of those to showcase how you've been a leader and either how that will help you succeed in reaching your goals or connect, like gives you some transferable skills, or in the second essay, how that will help you contribute on campus. Okay, we are just about out of time. Let's see. How can we best explain? This is a good question. This is an easy one for me to answer. How can we best explain that I'm choosing a recommender other than my manager for career and promotion reasons so it's seen positively by the admissions committee? Just tell them in the optional essay. Just write, I chose this person because, but basically it's totally fine that you're choosing a recommender who's not your current manager because of your career goals. Totally fine. School does not want you to jeopardize your career path. So if you're choosing somebody else, just tell them, worked really closely with this person. I have chosen not to tell anybody at my current firm, so working with this person instead. That's fine. They won't hold it against you at all. Okay, I think we are just about out of time. Kirsty, am I right?
Yeah, if you want to take one more, we can fit it in if you have time. But
Okay.
it's
Well, this is another easy one. I'll take this one. Is there anyone in the application where I can mention that an alumni in my department at work went to Wharton? Um, Wharton really doesn't, I mean, you get no real points for having a Wharton alum on your team. But in this case, what you might do is if you're close with that alum, or if you can build a relationship, maybe that person might write the Wharton admissions team a very brief note. Can't hurt, but I would let them do it, then try to force fit it in your application. It's going to feel a little like you're trying to drop names. So I discourage that. All right.
okay. Yep.
Best of luck to all of you. I hope this was helpful. I know this is hard. It should be hard. The schools want it to be hard, but I'm hoping that this gave you some tools and frameworks to demystify the process a little bit.
Yeah, thank you so much, Liza. We really appreciate having you here. Thank you all for joining us for this Wharton session. We wish you all the best with your essays and applications in general. I know a lot of you are planning to apply this year, so best of luck to you. And if you have any other questions for Liza, visit her website, and we'll see you all soon.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody. Take care and good luck. Bye-bye.
Bye.